This is United Nations Emergency Relay Station Echo 17 Bravo, Alpine Site, operational and on air. My name is Laurent Moser. I'm a telecommunications engineer assigned to the United Nations office at Geneva, seconded to the Emergency Communications Unit. I will identify periodically. If you can hear me, please log the time, frequency, signal strength, and location. I will continue cycling this information. Stay with me. I am not leaving. Current time is 19 past 7 in the evening, Central European Time. The Coordinated Universal Time is 1819. The date is Tuesday, the 28th of October. We are 5 kilometers south of Gstaad in the Bernese Oberland. We are operating from the lower gallery of the old civil protection complex carved into the limestone. The generator is stable at nominal load. Fuel is over half. Battery banks are healthy. External temperature at the entrance is 41 degrees Fahrenheit. Winds are light. Light snow above 2,000 meters. Valley roads are open between Saanen and Zweisimmen. Intermittent power outages reported in Les Diablerets and Château. Rail service on the Montreux Oberland line is irregular. If you are local and hearing this on near vertical incidents, you are not alone. I am going to start with the station identification again for anyone scanning the dial. This is United Nations Relay Station Echo 17 Bravo. I am speaking from Switzerland. We are a manual analog bridge for long-range radio. The Regional United Nations Coordination Center at the Palais des Nations in Geneva is unreachable by landline and satellite at this time. The backup fiber link through Lausanne is down. The microwave link over the Jura is intermittent. I have a direct copper pair into the Swiss Civil Protection node at Spies. That path is working. For the rest of the world, this is it for me. High-frequency radio, low-frequency receivers, and a rack of noisy relay gear that looks like a museum piece and just saved my job. If you're an operator, a pilot, a ship's radio officer, a technical lead, or just someone with an old receiver and patience, I will translate what I can and pass traffic while I can. We have confirmation of widespread satellite disruption ongoing across multiple constellations. Reports reference firmware corruption propagated through ground update chains. At least 4 major positioning constellations are compromised. Ground radars are surviving. Tracking is patchy. Civil aviation is affected in multiple regions. I will read statements as they arrive. I will keep my voice steady. If I slip, forgive me. I am a person, and I am tired. Station ID, United Nations Relay Station Echo 17 Bravo, Switzerland. Monitoring 7.400 MHz. Stand by for international. I have an Indian station on frequency. Call sign is truncated by fading. Copy is weak but readable. Language is English mixed with Hindi. I will read the essential content word for word and then translate where needed. Quote, "This is Delhi Ground Segment Emergency Net. We confirm firmware corruption during an automated push overnight. Multiple satellites entered safe mode. Some did not respond to recovery. Ground vectors are off. Navigation drifts. We are grounding domestic flights as a precaution. Military corridors are under visual rules. Please advise all sectors to revert to radio beacons and procedural separation. We request United Nations assistance." End quote. He gave a longer technical block in Hindi. I will summarize. He says the corrupted update looks like it arrived with proper signatures. That means the ground keys were compromised or the validation chain was spoofed. He says their team is trying to load a clean image through a very narrow link budget. Their uplinks are congested. He says 3 satellites are tumbling. He says to expect blackouts at predictable intervals as the constellation yaw errors stack. He says there will be misreports in consumer navigation devices. He says do not trust phones for coordinates. He says use paper charts. He sounds like he has not slept. Delhi, if you can still hear me, this is Echo 17. Bravo. Your message was received and relayed. We confirm. I will keep this frequency open at the top and the bottom of each hour. Switch to 7.425 MHz or 12.018 MHz. If you lose us, I am with you. I need to say this for anyone listening on consumer radios. If your phone map is jumping or your car navigation is wandering, do not follow it. Look at the road signs. Slow down. If you are on the water, Use a compass, a chart, and your eyes. If you're in the air and this somehow reaches you, I know you have procedures. Fly them. You train for this and people on the ground are relying on you. If you are ATC with a sleepless room and a dead data link, I hear you too. Hold your voice steady and work one plane at a time. I am checking the New York link on 12.015 megahertz, calling United Nations Operations New York. This is Echo 17 Bravo, Switzerland. Do you read? No return. Noise floor is moderate. Atmospheric crackle. I have a static crash that looks like lightning, but weather radar here says clear across the Atlantic. Might be power arcing in urban zones. I am not going to guess. I just note what I hear. I am going to log a Japanese burst on 7.400 megahertz, lower sideband. The station identifier used Kansai backup. The message is terse. Quote, firmware corruption confirmed. Quarantine of command and control links. Maritime navigation aids set to broadcast local warnings. All drones grounded by order. Do not trust autonomous target recognition. We will disable automated defense profiles until integrity is proven. Emergency services request analog relay for hospitals. End quote. I will repeat the important part. They are disabling automated systems that might misidentify targets. If you are in a region with unmanned patrols or automatic barriers, do not trigger them. Keep distance. Wait for manual control. If you hear a police officer shout from behind a vehicle with the radio dead and the drone grounded, do what is asked. They are people in a bad position trying to keep order when the tools stop behaving. Station ID, United Nations Relay Station Echo, 17 Bravo, Switzerland. I'm keeping this line warm for the continent, switching antennas from the directional array to the fan dipole to favor Africa. Stand by for South African traffic. I have Johannesburg on 7.400 megahertz. The voice is young. There is a coughing fit and the sound of a chair scraping concrete. I will read the core. Quote, this is air traffic service, Johannesburg on backup HF. We lost GNSS lock in multiple sectors. A Boeing descending into OR Tambo deviated on final. Tower tried to vector them on radio. They did not respond. We scrambled 2 interceptors under the false assumption of a hostile. The aircraft did not correct. We engaged. We were wrong. There were 198 people on board. There were no survivors. We are grounding. We request a United Nations statement because people are already at the fence. End quote. I'm going to speak plainly and slow. Johannesburg. Your message is received. I will repeat it without any judgment. Your team tried to protect the ground under impossible conditions. You were working blind. You made a call that no one wants to make. I am sorry for what happened. I cannot issue a political statement. I am a relay operator. I will say this to anyone listening near that airport fence right now. The people inside are your neighbors. They are not trying to hide the truth. They are standing in rooms with dead screens and too many phones ringing. Walk away and let them work. If someone near you is angry enough to throw a rock, hold their arm and tell them there was a plane that did not answer and no one will sleep after this. For the record, the International Civil Aviation Organization procedure in loss of communications includes a published lost communication route and timing. Pilots and controllers know it. It works when radios die. It fails when all the other layers die at the same time. We are in that second case. I am not going to dress it up. I'm going to keep reading reports so we can learn in real time what fails and what survives. Geneva Civil Protection has just sent me a short packet on the Spies line. Hospitals in Vaud and Geneva are running generators. The Canton Police in Vaud have activated roadblocks on the highway around Lausanne to keep a lane open for ambulances. If you live near the motorway, expect closures. Do not try to drive around the cones. If you have a neighbor with medical training, check if they have been called in and ask if they need a ride. I will do a local weather at the top of the hour and then I will return to long-haul traffic. The top of the hour is in 29 minutes. Yes, I am counting minutes. It helps me keep rhythm. I have an emergency maritime beacon on 12.015 megahertz, likely a rekeyed coast station from the Azores. The language is Portuguese. The audio is narrowband and clipped. I will translate into English. Quote, oil terminal at Praia da Vitória reports false safety overrides. Evacuation alarms triggered across the facility. Sirens caused panic in the neighborhood. We have minor injuries and 2 fatalities from a crush at the main gate. No fire, no leak. We reset by hand. Many residents are leaving by car. We request the traffic be kept calm. End quote. If you are in any industrial zone and the alarms go off, listen for the voice announcement. If there is no voice, if it is just a robot siren, do not rush the gate. Move away from machinery, away from the fence, and wait for a human with a loudspeaker. I know that in a disaster this is not how it feels. I know the sound makes your legs move. It is still better to hear a sentence and then act. I have stood at those gates. I have no authority over you. I am just asking. Station ID, United Nations Relay. Station Echo, 1-7. Bravo, Switzerland. My name is Laurent. I'm going to keep using my first name because it is easier and I am speaking to people, not just call signs. If you are just joining, the short version is this. Satellites are broken or untrustworthy. Phones are lying. Planes are grounded in many places. Automated systems are turned off. People are taking manual control. This is the sound of a world that still works if we slow down and use our hands and our voices. I am here to connect voices. I will answer the question I can hear some of you asking in your heads. Where is my family? My wife Nora and our daughter Camille are in Lausanne. Nora is an oncology nurse at the CHUV. She's probably at the hospital. Camille is 12 and she had band practice tonight. They go to a community center at Place de la Riponne. I have not reached them since midday when the mobile network started dropping calls in bursts. I wrote a note on paper and left it with our neighbor in Prilly when I drove up here. I said I would be on the radio. If you are in Lausanne and you hear this and you are anywhere near Place de la Riponne and you see a girl with dark hair and a blue jacket with a broken zipper near the collar, tell her her father is on the radio and he is not leaving. Her name is Camille. Tell her I said to take the safe path home, not the shortcut by the tunnel. Thank you. Back to traffic. I have Tokyo again. It is a different operator. A woman this time. She is reading in Japanese in a calm tone that sounds like it took a lifetime to learn. I will translate key points. Quote, rail signaling experiencing phantom occupancy. Trains will slow. Expect delays and stoppages. Hospitals running on low supply of diesel for generators. Elderly care centers need volunteers. Do not use elevators if power is unstable. Carry water. Check on your neighbors. Boil water if there is any doubt. End quote. I will add something from my own experience. If you are boiling water to be safe and fuel is precious, bring it to a rolling boil and keep it there for a minute. Then cover it and let it cool. You do not need to boil it for an hour. Save your gas. If you have a pressure cooker, use it for food to save time. I know this sounds like a cooking show. It is not. This is how small details keep people from getting sick on day 2. South Asia coming in. The voice is an older man from Mumbai, English with a stately cadence. He says Coast Guard vessels are out with radar and eyes. He says there are fishermen at sea without reliable GPS. He says to look at the stars and follow the swell. And he laughs once without humor and says that is what his grandfather taught him. He says to aim for the lights on shore if you can see them, and if you cannot, hold position until dawn. He says do not trust a phone that tells you you are safe on land when the hull is still creaking. I like him. He is tired, and he is still a teacher. We have an African Union liaison on the continental net from Addis Ababa. The operator reports ground transportation is strained. Power is unstable in multiple capitals. There are reports of opportunistic crime near fuel depots. Security forces are present and asking people to line up and not to rush the fence. The phrase, not to rush the fence, keeps coming back today. I want it to stop. Top of the hour local. 1900 hours Central European time. Weather in the Bernese. Oberland. Temperature 41 degrees Fahrenheit at valley level, dropping to freezing at higher elevations. Light snow above 2,000 meters. Winds from the west at 8 miles per hour. Skies mostly clear. If you are hiking, turn back and go home. This is not the hour to be on a ridge with a small headlamp and a confused navigation app. In Geneva, winds are calm. The lake is flat. Do not take a boat out to get a better phone signal. There is nothing out there for you tonight except cold air and regret. Stay with your family. If you have extra blankets, give them to the neighbor with the thin windows. United States traffic is still absent. I am sweeping the band. I hear static and a faint whistle. I have a military sound. Encrypted, then it stops. If you are a ham radio operator with a good antenna in North America and you catch this, try a slow scan image on 14.230 megahertz with the old protocol, and send me a picture of your porch or your dog or anything normal, and if it lands on my screen, I will describe it on air so someone without images can picture something that is not a map of failure. I am serious. The old tricks work. A note for anyone with a shortwave receiver and an analog dial. If you have an older portable, look for the band labeled 7 megahertz to 8 megahertz. Tune slowly until my voice is clean. If you have a string and a thumbtack, tie the string around the tuning knob and anchor it to a fixed point to keep the frequency from drifting as the radio warms up. If your radio eats batteries, rotate them, warm them in your pocket, and turn the backlight off. This sounds small. Tonight is made of small things. I am getting a fragment from a Russian-speaking operator. The content is clipped. The words I catch are ground segment, firmware, and manual control. The tone is clipped and professional. That is all I have. I am logging it. I'm not going to fill in the gaps with guesses. Someone else can do that tomorrow, if there is a normal newsroom tomorrow. There is a hospital net coming through from northern Italy. The operator is in Milan. He says intensive care units are full because of equipment failures. He says power blipped, and ventilators switched to battery. He says they are stable now, but the staff are running from room to room because the alarms all went off at once, and then died. And then it was quiet, and then the staff could hear people calling them by name. He does not cry. He just reads bed numbers. This is what real work looks like. It does not sound like television. It sounds like a man reading bed numbers until his voice is a whisper and he keeps going. I am going to drink water and keep the carrier up. Thank you for waiting. If you are new here, I am Laurent at United Nations Relay Station Echo 17 Bravo in Switzerland. I am keeping the high-frequency bands open for anyone who needs a human being to hear them. If you have a transmission, wait for the end of this sentence and key up. I will pick you up if you are somewhere within the big shadow of Europe, Africa, and the North Atlantic. I am getting a South American station speaking Portuguese again. The operator says the Rio de Janeiro airport has grounded flights and is using a whiteboard to sequence departures of emergency services. That is not a joke. A whiteboard is sometimes the best air traffic tool in the world when everything else falls into the sea. He says the military is visible around the fuel farms and people are nervous. He says the beaches are quiet. He says it feels wrong to him. I will not repeat his last part. He used a word he regrets. He apologizes. He says he will call his mother when he can. He says to stop recording him if anyone is recording, and then he laughs and says, we have to record, I suppose. I am recording him. He sounds 25. He is doing fine. Tokyo again. The operator thanks me for relaying and then asks if Geneva can accept medical supply routing. I say Geneva is dark, but Bern and Zurich might help. I pass a phone number spoken slow. He copies. If you are writing at home for some reason, I am sorry for the phone number on air. This is the point. The world forgot how to do this. We are remembering. I'm going to read a list of plain actions anyone can take tonight. Fill containers with water while taps work. Do not flush out of habit. Keep a bucket for non-potable uses. If you have neighbors who are elderly, check on them and bring a flashlight. If your building has a basement with old bikes or strollers or junk, do not dive down there without telling someone. If you have candles, put them on a plate, not on wood. If you have a gas stove and the power is off, do not use it to heat the room. Crack a window. Carbon monoxide is a quiet killer, and it will not warn you. If you have medicine that needs refrigeration, group it in the smallest space with ice packs. If you have a car and you think you can go for a long drive to find a better signal, do not. Save the fuel for a real need. Tell the kids this is a power failure, not the end of their lives. That last sentence was for me too. I will repeat the station ID. This is United Nations Relay Station Echo, 17 Bravo, Switzerland, 7.400 megahertz and 12.015 megahertz. Backup on 5.105 megahertz. Near vertical incidence. For local coverage, my name is Laurent. I am here. Someone asked on a short burst if this is a real United Nations station or some guy in a basement. That is fair. The answer is both. The station is official. The room looks like a basement. It used to be a civil defense shelter with a filtered air intake, a heavy door, and old beds stacked in a side gallery. Our consoles are a mix of working modern gear and older analog units that do not care what a satellite thinks. The rack fans are loud. The clock on the wall is from a school in Geneva. Someone wrote "Do not touch" on the sync generator in thick marker. That was me. We are at 2 hours on air without a break. I will keep going. I will tape my eyes open if I have to. That is not a metaphor. I am staring very hard at the VU meter and pretending it is my enemy. That is how I stay awake at times. There is a coffee machine here that runs off the inverter. It makes bad coffee. It is my friend. I have a brief from Nairobi. The operator reports the military has secured the main broadcast center to push a civic message. It says, in English and Swahili, that people should stay where they are, share food, and stop forwarding unverified rumors. The operator uses the phrase, "no photos of tanks on old bridges." That means someone is posting old images and calling them current. I do not know how many people can see that now. The idea still matters. If you cannot verify, do not share. In a blackout, rumors are infections. They can make real people do dangerous things. Johannesburg is back, voice unsteady, still at the console. He says the families of the passengers are gathering at a hotel near the airport. He says counselors are there. He says he will walk over when his shift ends and stand in the hallway because he spoke to those pilots yesterday and their voices are in his head. He asks me if I have a prayer to read. I do not have a prayer. I have silence that I can keep on air for a few seconds. That does not sound like a technical fault. I am going to do that now. Thank you. I am opening the line for Europe Domestic. If you are in Poland, Germany, the Netherlands, Spain, or anywhere in between and you are running local emergency traffic, I can relay publicly if you want. I will not say your exact location unless you ask me to. If you are in law enforcement or military and you want to get a message out, identify your service to me and keep it short. Do not disclose tactics. Do not disclose troop movements. Do not endanger your people. This is a human net, not a place to score a point. A Swiss Federal Railways tech from Bern on near vertical incidents says switch heaters are failing intermittently and they are going to strand trains at stations rather than between signals while they troubleshoot. He asked me to tell people not to force doors on a stopped train because they might come back live and start moving. He mentions a case years ago in which someone forced a door and fell and the memory is stuck in his throat. He asks for people to stay seated and wait for the announcement. I am now telling you, on his behalf, to stay seated if the train is dead in a station and wait for the announcement. We have a fragment from Madrid. The voice is loud, harried. He says the airport fire service is fine. The fuel trucks are accounted for and the runway is clear. He says the city is loud. He says he is going to take a nap on the floor under the tower stairs when he can. I tell him to use his coat as a pillow to keep his shoulders from freezing. He says he forgot he had a coat on. He says this is the longest day. He says he is proud of his team. Then he signs off with a name I will not repeat. It is his. It deserves to stay with his team tonight. Someone in Zurich asks about weapons. I will be careful. If you are civilian and you own a firearm legally, lock it up. This is not the night to show it to your neighbor as proof you have control. This is the night to put it back in the safe, check the door, and sit with your family. If you are in law enforcement or military, you know your rules of engagement. Stick to them. The blackout does not change them. If you are scared, and everyone is, take a breath and ask your partner to stand a step behind you and to your left to cover your blind spot in a crowd. That is not a tactic. That is a habit that keeps you both collecting a paycheck next month. I will not say more on this. We are 3 hours in. I am going to do a small thing for myself and for anyone alone in a quiet flat with a transistor radio on a table. I'm going to read the Geneva Police Daily Bulletin from last week. It is boring. That is why I am reading it. It says a lost dog was found in Plain Palais and reunited with the owner. It says a bicycle was reported stolen near Cornavin and later found leaning against a kiosk on Rue de Mont Blanc, possibly because the lock broke and the thief realized it was not worth the trouble. It says there was a minor fender bender on the Pont de Mont Blanc and the drivers exchanged insurance information and left without an argument. I like that one. That is what normal looks like. I am going to put that picture in my head and leave it there for a minute. Back to the work. India again. New operator. Voice shaking. He says some of the satellites restarted with a clean boot but are not accepting ground commands. He says they are watching them drift. He says each one is an expensive stone in the sky. He says the constellation designer who retired last year is in the room eating a banana and laughing to keep from crying. He says he has no idea why he told me that, and then he says he is sorry. Do not be sorry. That is the most human sentence I will hear all week. You are allowed to be a person in the middle of a disaster. Keep eating. Keep laughing. Keep telling me about it so I know you are still there. I'm getting a fragment from Anchorage. The path is bad. The words that come through are grounded, Coast Guard, and watch. I cannot make the rest out. If someone closer can copy, send me a text burst on the old narrow mode and I will read it. Zurich Hospital. Net says to remind people to bring medications with them if they show up for help. You would be surprised how many people arrive without their pills in a panic, and then the nurses have to become detectives. Gather your prescriptions now, put them in a bag with a note that has your name, allergies, and a phone number for a neighbor. Tape the note to the bag. Put the bag by the door. Keep a spare pair of socks in there. Wet feet make everything worse. I'm going to speak to anyone under 16 listening right now because your parents might be busy and I know you have a radio app on a phone that still works when the cell towers blink. If you are hearing me and the house is dim and the adults are whispering and pretending it is fine, here is your job. Get a bowl. Fill it with water. Put 4 spoons and 4 forks next to it. Find a candle. Put it on a plate. Get 2 blankets and put them on the couch. Take a notebook and write the time, the date, and the names of everyone in the house, then draw a box next to each name. Tell everyone to check the box when they go to sleep and to draw a smile in the box when they wake up. I know that sounds silly. It is not. It is a way to count everyone when nothing else works. This is what radio sounds like when we do it right. It tells people small things that keep them steady. I have a call from Tokyo asking for a direct line to Seoul. I cannot raise Seoul. I have a ham operator in Busan who says the city is on generator and the port has ships at anchor waiting for daylight. He says the cranes are still. He says the fishermen are betting on the wind tomorrow. He says he will stand on the breakwater at dawn with a hand light to make a line for a friend. He laughs softly. I ask his name. He says not to read it. He is married. His wife thinks the radio is silly. He is right. The radio is silly until we need it. Then it is a rope across a river. I promise no metaphors, so scratch that. It is a cable with copper inside, running from my hand to yours. That is accurate enough. New York is quiet. The band has a gap where I think their voice should be. If you are there, if you have an old shortwave in a brownstone or a diner or a firehouse, tune around 7 megahertz and send me a few words. Say the street corner, say the weather. Say the number of the bus that just went by. Say the smell of the room. That last one is allowed. It is factual. If coffee is burned, say coffee is burned. If the griddle is cold, say the griddle is cold. If the window is taped with a picture drawn by a kid, say it is a picture of a truck with square wheels. I want to paint the world with facts tonight. Give me little ones I can lay end to end. A ham in Brittany just sent a slow scan image. It is a dog asleep on a woven rug. The rug has blue and red squares. The dog is a golden retriever with an old face. The caption says, Jules, snoring, 022 local, thank you for that. The picture came through with noise streaks. I could still see Jules clearly. He is real. That helps. If you have a dog named Jules, hug him once for me. If you have a cat, good luck telling it what to do. That is a factual statement. I am fading a little. I am not going to hide it. I'm going to do the thing you do on long watch and tell my body that we are almost there, even when we are not. Then I will drink more water and lie to myself again. This is a skill I learned in hospital shift work with Nora when we had Camille. We counted to 1,000 and then 1,000 more. It works. Count something. Count the tiles on the floor. Count the seconds between ticks. Count the breaths between sentences. I'm not telling you to panic. I'm telling you how to sit still while the building hums. We have Cape Town on. He says the port has shut the big cranes as a safety measure. Power is being rationed, and night patrols are doubling up. He says the radio net among harbor pilots is alive again for the first time in years. He says an old pilot boat took a line to a freighter without any digital assist, and the old man at the helm grinned. He says the city will be fine. He says to tell Johannesburg that people in Cape Town are thinking of them. I told him I would. Johannesburg, you are on his mind. That is a real sentence from one person to a city. I'm going to read short multilingual fragments so people hear themselves. In French, le réseau est fragile, mais il tient. The network is fragile, but it holds. In German, bitte bleiben, Sie ruhig und unterstützen Sie einander. Please stay calm and support each other. In Italian, spegnete le luci non necessarie e parlate con I vicini. Turn off unnecessary lights and talk to your neighbors. In Hindi, krupiai afwahen feilain. Kevelstiapit jaankari saja kren. Please do not spread rumors and share only verified information. In Japanese, erebe tawoshi wazu. Jie duan woshi yong shite kudasai. Do not use elevators, use the stairs. In Portuguese, se tiver agua, ferva por minuto e deixe esfriar. If you have water, boil it for 1 minute and let it cool. Someone on a civilian net asked what the sound is under my voice. It is a fan bearing that sings when it is warm and a relay that clicks every 10 seconds when the VFO trims the frequency. The shelter makes other sounds. Air moves through a filter that smells like cardboard because the filter is made of paper and glue. There is a coffee cup on the console that rattles when the generator shifts under load. I can hear my own breathing in the headphones, and I try not to. That is too intimate for radio. If my voice cracks on a syllable here and there, it is not an effect. It is my throat. Zurich Police, net, asked me to remind people not to call emergency numbers for information. Call only if you are hurt or in danger. For information, listen to the radio. That means me and the national stations where they survive, and the old emergency networks with a person in a bright vest reading a list. If you have a battery radio, keep it at low volume and check it every hour. Save power. If you have a car, do not idle it to charge your phone. It wastes fuel and makes carbon monoxide. Use a proper charger when the grid is back, and until then, ration. Tokyo again, and then silence. The operator paused, and I think she put a hand over the microphone, and I heard a chair move, and then she came back and said very carefully that people are starting to gather outside a self-defense force base with dead phones. She asked me to say that the gate is not a place where answers live. Answers live in rooms with maps and people who cannot leave to talk to you at the fence. Go home, make tea. That is what she said, make tea. I like her. She's going to hold that room together with a voice. You are listening to United Nations Relay Station Echo 1, 7 Bravo, Switzerland. I am Laurent. I'm going to read a list of the things that still work when satellites fail. Landlines where they still exist. Paper. Pencils. Flashlights. Analog radios. Truckers on Citizen Band. Fishermen on old sets. Scouts at camp with a hand crank set. Ham operators who never stop loving tubes. Runners with a note pinned to a shirt. Teachers with a whistle. Nurses who carry an entire ward in their heads and can walk to each bed and check a chest. Rise. Parents who can count to 60 without a clock. None of this is poetic. It is practical. The world is not order or chaos. It is people, and we are still here. I need to tell you I am going to read for a minute from an old civil defense manual in front of me. It says to calm people by giving them tasks. It says to keep families together. It says to repeat accurate information often. It says to conserve fuel. It says to avoid fire hazards. It says to establish a message center in each building to post news. There is a page here that shows a chalkboard with dates. We replaced chalk with screens. We can use chalk again. I am not advocating a return to the past. I am telling you that a chalkboard is not failure. It is a tool that does not crash. This next part is for the record. If any of you are recording, please cut clean audio and archive it in a safe place. At 1955 Central European Time, the United Nations Emergency Relay Station Echo 17, Bravo, Switzerland, confirms the following. Multi-constellation satellite disruption due to firmware compromise, civil aviation grounded in multiple regions, maritime navigation degraded, autonomous systems disabled, hospitals operating on generators, public messaging systems switching to analog, global data links unreliable, human voices now carrying facts across high-frequency bands. That is the world at this hour. I am going to take 30 seconds and check the aux generator because the load indicator jumped. The carrier will stay up. You will hear the room, not my voice. Stay with me. Thank you for waiting. The load jump was the heater cycling. I turned it down. The room is cold now. I will live. Someone in Lyon just transmitted a grocery list by accident. I am not joking. The mic must have been keyed in a pocket. The list says bread, milk, batteries, and cat litter. The order is interesting. If you are the person in Lyon, your pocket just told the world you love your cat. That made my night better. Check your transmit button. Then give that cat a stern look. Johannesburg again. He says he walked outside and the sky is clear. He says the city lights look normal. He says it feels like someone pressed a pause button on a day and forgot to resume. He says he's going to stand at the hotel hallway as promised. He says thank you for reading his words back to him because he felt less like he was falling. I repeat them once more so he can hear me say them. You did your job under impossible conditions. You are still doing it. Go stand in the hallway, nod to the people who make the coffee, breathe. Then go back and keep the room steady. I will be here. We have a short contact from Tel Aviv. The operator says air raid sirens are under manual control. There is no aerial threat. They are keeping people calm by being visible. She says the hospitals are stocked. She says hemodialysis machines are running on backup in a rotation, and that is a juggle. She says the patients are brave. That is her word. I believe her. If you are a patient on machines or a caregiver, you know the drill better than I do. If there is a rotation and you are asked to wait, try to breathe and look at the person in scrubs who is juggling 10 things and remember they are human. They are not a barcode scanner. They want you to make it through the night, and they will skip dinner and sleep to get you there. If you are a person who can spare a pack of crackers or a bottle of water for a nurse, bring it. Put it on a table. Walk away. Do not make a speech. I'm going to read my station ID again and then do something personal. This is United Nations Relay Station Echo 17 Bravo in Switzerland. 7.400 megahertz and 12.015 megahertz. Backup near vertical on 5.105 megahertz. My name is Laurent. Now for the personal thing. Nora, if you hear this in a stairwell at the hospital because someone has a radio on a cart, I love you. Camille, if you hear this because a music teacher kept an old pocket radio in a drawer for emergencies and he is a hero tonight, go home with whoever that is, and if you cannot go home, go to Aunt Sophie and Morge. The key is in the clay pot by the rosemary bush. Do not take the tunnel. Take the street with the bakery and count the 3 streetlights and turn right. Put a note on the door with your name. I will come when I can. If you are angry that I am not there, you are right. Be angry and go inside. Lock the door. Sleep on the couch with the hall light on. I will keep talking until the world falls back into place or the generator dies. Thank you for letting me do that. We are back. An operator in New Delhi is asking for a bridge to South Africa to exchange technical data on firmware rollback. I will read the parameters aloud so others can follow. They are discussing checksum mismatches, safe mode exit procedures, and differential drag estimates for damaged birds. Yes, I said birds. That is what we sometimes call them. The numbers are precise. The plan is slow. It will take days. They are going to try anyway. That is the real story here, and it does not fit in a headline. It is a dozen people in rooms without windows saying numbers in low voices and promising to show up again after a nap. Tokyo sends a tiny update. They have volunteers forming walking groups to check elderly neighbors who live alone. They are giving each walker a card with 6 boxes to tick. Lights out, water okay, food okay, medication okay, heat okay, not alone. That is the entire card. That is a perfect card. If you live in a building, copy this. Put it by the door. Go knock. Say your name. Tick boxes. Move on. Do not linger. Do not make speeches. Leave a note if no one answers. There is a new voice on 7.425 megahertz. The accent is American, young, maybe college. The signal is faint and messy. He says he is in Boston. He says the city is dark. He says the radio club at the university dug out an old transmitter and it smells like dust and victory. He asks if Europe is there. I tell him yes. I tell him his voice crossed the ocean and hit a concrete wall under a mountain and bounced out into a cold Swiss room and hit my ear. He exclaims in a way I cannot repeat on public radio, and then he laughs and says, "Sorry, sir." And I tell him not to call me sir because I am in a sweater with a coffee stain. He asks for advice. I tell him to keep the door locked. Put a sign with the word radio on it and assign a student to sit outside with a notebook and a pen and write down the names of anyone who comes in. So later we can thank them or apologize to them, whichever is needed. He likes that. He says his name is Daniel and he gives me a last name. I will not say it. He is a kid doing something adult on a long night and his privacy is his. Time check. It is 22 minutes past 10 Central European Time. The generator fuel gauge is at 43%. I have an auxiliary tank outside. I am not going to open the door tonight. I am not going to risk the air filters for a top-off. We have enough. We are fine. I am talking to myself now. That is allowed after 3 hours. Tokyo asks if we can send a general message to all military commands listening. The message is, be careful with rules of engagement in low-information environments. The phrase they use is, do not let the map be the territory. And then she laughs and says it badly in English, and we both laugh for a second, and then it is quiet. I know I said no symbolic language. That sentence is a warning from professionals to other professionals. It matters. If your screen is black, do not fire, and then try to explain. Hold, ask, confirm. If someone in a uniform near you tells you to move, move. If someone points a weapon out of fear and not malice, lower your hands slowly and speak calmly. These are factual actions. They save lives. I'm going to do something different for 5 minutes because I need the room to sound like a place where children can sleep. I will read a story in French, then in German, then in English. It is very short. It is about a boy who loses his shoe on a tram and finds it the next day because the conductor kept it on the dashboard. I will not use voices. I will read plain. Parents, if you do not want your kids to hear a man with a Swiss accent read a children's story, turn the knob for 5 minutes and then come back. The world will keep turning without me scolding it.
Il était une fois un garçon qui a perdu sa chaussure sur le tram. Le conducteur l'a trouvée, l'a posée sur le tableau de bord, et le lendemain, quand le garçon est revenu avec sa mère, elle était encore là. Ils ont dit merci, et le conducteur a dit de faire attention aux chaussures quand on s'assoit. Sie ist taut. Es war einmal ein Junge, der seinen Schuh in der Straßenbahn verloren hat. Der Fahrer hat ihn gefunden, auf das Armaturenbrett gelegt und am nächsten Tag, als der Junge mit seiner Mutter wiederkam, war noch da. Sie haben Danke gesagt. Und der Fahrer hat gesagt, man soll aufpassen, wenn man sich hinsetzt. Das ist alles.
Once there was a boy who lost his shoe on the tram. The driver found it and put it on the dashboard. And the next day, when the boy came back with his mother, it was still there. They said thank you, and the driver said to be careful with shoes when you sit down. That is the whole story. Tokyo thanks me. Nairobi says the room got quiet for a minute and people breathed. Delhi says someone smiled for the first time today. I'm going to put that in a file labeled use again when the room is too loud. We have a fragment from Buenos Aires. He says the grid is unstable, the rail network is pausing trains, and the firefighters are at the ready. He says the city has candles. He says the bakeries will open at dawn if the ovens can be lit. He says he is going to sleep on a chair and wake up to roll dough. I love bakers. They are the reason a city smells like life at 6 in the morning. That is a true sentence. It does not need a simile. If you are still with me, we are now at the part of the night where time goes fluid and people make mistakes. Do not put a pot on the stove and walk away. Do not plug 10 things into one power strip when the power comes back. Do not go down to the cellar alone if the light is out. Do not open the door to a stranger. Do not fire a gun in the air to prove something to yourself. Do sit on the floor, drink water, and tell the person next to you what you did today that was brave. For me, it was walking out of my car and into this building when every instinct told me to drive back to Lausanne and bang on a locked hospital door and make a scene. I did not. I came here. I turned on the transmitter. I said my name. I am still saying it. That is my brave thing. A very faint North American signal is audible in the noise. The voice is high and small. It is on an illegal slice of the band. The modulation wobbles. The words are clipped. I am recording. The child says, "Hello. Hello, anyone. This is Mia. I am in New Jersey. My dad is gone. The sky is black. There was a crash." The audio collapses into hiss. I am going to roll it back. Stand by. I replayed the burst 3 times. It is real. The frequency is wrong for legal use. The offset is consistent with a toy walkie-talkie chained into a radio by someone who knows enough to make trouble but maybe saved a life. I am not complaining. Mia, if you can hear me, this is Laurent. I am in Switzerland. This is a real station with a real person. Your voice reached me across an ocean. I hear you. I am going to give you a place to go on the dial that is easier for your radio to sit on without drifting. If someone hooked you to a bigger radio, ask them to set it to 7.425 megahertz, lower sideband. If you're holding a little radio with a button and a short antenna, stay where you are and keep talking, and I will try to find you again. Your voice is small and strong. Keep it coming. Dead air. I'm staring at the waterfall display. It looks like rain to me, but I promise not to compare. It looks like a screen. I wait. The room is very quiet except for the fan and a sound like a coin in a dryer, which is a piece of gear with a loose screw somewhere I have not found. I wait. There? The faint voice again. Are you real? I am. Are you real? She repeats. Yes, Mia, I am real. I am a person. I'm wearing a sweater with a coffee stain and my hands shake when I take notes and I want to sleep for a week and I am not going to. I am Laurent. I am in Switzerland, in a mountain room. If anyone near Mia can hear me and can help get her to a safer frequency or a bigger antenna, do it quietly. Do not say much. Do not scare her. I am going to speak like I'm talking to a single child in a kitchen. Because I am. Mia, if you can hear me again, look at the window. If you see smoke, do not open the window. If you see fire in the street, go to the bathroom and put wet towels at the base of the door. If you are alone, find a blanket and sit with your back to the wall with no windows. If there is a neighbor you trust, call their name through the door. Do not go outside if the street is loud. Count to 60 slowly and breathe. If the power is out, use a flashlight and keep the beam low. If you need to move, take a bag and put water, a snack, and a note with your name and where you are going. Put on shoes. Lock the door. I am not there. I wish I was. I will stay here and keep saying your name. Mia, I hear you. The signal fades. I am going to leave the receiver on this band while I keep transmitting on the other. If this sounds sloppy, it is because I am juggling 5 things and trying not to lose the one that matters. Tokyo asks if this is the moment to cry. I say not yet. We both laugh without much sound. She says to keep my voice even, so the child hears a person who sounds like a kitchen at night when everyone is safe. That is a very Japanese way to put it, and I know exactly what she means. I soften my tone. My throat hurts less when I do. Mia again. There was a plane. It hit the highway. The lights are off. There were sparks. The voice drifts away. Come back, Mia. I am here. I am scared, she says, and then, are you real? I will answer the second part first. Yes, I am real. You can test me. Ask me a question no robot would answer. Ask me what my favorite thing in my house is. I will say it is the chipped bowl that my daughter uses for cereal, and it has a picture of a horse on the bottom that you can only see when you finish, and she always holds it up like a trophy. That is my answer. I am real. If you are near the part of New Jersey that can hear me on shortwave and you have a working car and a clear road, and you know a child named Mia, do not try to be a hero. Call out from the street. Do not break doors. Do not add to the chaos. If you are a neighbor and you know this child, go knock, say your name, and tell her you will sit outside the door and talk until morning. That is a job. People in uniforms will reach you when the roads are clear. You can keep a kid from falling apart by being a voice. That is the whole job. I will cycle identification, and then I will return to the old habit of reading normal things in a room full of bad air. United Nations Relay Station Echo 17. Bravo, Switzerland, 7.400 MHz, 12.015 MHz. Backup near vertical on 5.105 MHz. My name is Laurent. With me on the line in pieces are Tokyo, Delhi, Johannesburg, Nairobi, Madrid, Milan, Busan, Brittany, Boston, Tel Aviv, and now Mia in New Jersey. The world is smaller than the map tonight. I have a folder of interval signals that radio stations used to play at the top of the hour. They are short, simple melodies, or tones that told listeners where they were on the dial. They are old-fashioned and honest. I am going to play a few into the microphone by holding a small speaker up to it because I have no patch cable, and this is the level of my engineering at this hour. After each, I will pause and say the name of a place. It will be my way to light candles in a line. If you do not like this idea, turn the knob for a minute, do something useful, and come back. If you need it, stay. Tone, pause, London. Tone, pause, Havana. Tone, pause, Berlin. Tone, pause, Moscow. Tone, pause, Tokyo. Tone, pause, Delhi. Tone, pause, Johannesburg. Tone, pause, New York. There is a small click after each one as my thumb hits the speaker button. That is as real as radio gets tonight. The room is still. The fans do what fans do. The clock on the wall keeps time like a good soldier. I am allowed that word. It is literal. It soldiered on. I hear a whisper of Mia again. I am tired, she says. It smells bad. I answer. That smell is probably electrical. Possibly burned insulation or fuel. If you can get a wet cloth and hold it to your nose without breathing through your mouth, do it. Stay low. If someone comes to your door and they say they are a neighbor, ask them a question only a neighbor would know, like the color of your front steps or the name of a dog on your street. If they answer right, let them sit outside the door and talk to you. Do not open the door yet. Ask them to wait until day. It is a small thing. It is a real thing. Tokyo says her shift is ending and she is handing to another voice. She thanks me. I thank her. She signs off by saying her name softly and I do not repeat it. It is hers. The new voice is younger and very awake. He coughs and clears his throat and says, "We are still here. I say, so are we. That is it. No music. No flag. Two voices agreeing to keep breathing. I will close this hour with a plain reminder. If you are listening and you are alone, you are not actually alone. The proof is in your hand. The radio is a two-way promise. I am on one end. You are on the other. If you need a task, write down the names of people you are responsible for. Tape the paper to the inside of your door. That paper is your mission tonight. The names are not just letters. They are pulse and heat. Check them in the morning. Add one if a neighbor knocked. Cross one out if a neighbor went to a safer place. The paper is a logbook. It is how ships get to port. That is a factual method, not a metaphor. This is United Nations Relay Station Echo 17. Bravo, Switzerland. My name is Laurent. If you are a child named Mia in New Jersey and you are still listening, this is for you. You are not alone. I'm going to say your name every 10 minutes until I hear you again or until my voice stops. I will not stop because I am bored. I will stop when the generator tells me I have to. When that happens, the room will be quiet, and I will sit in the dark and count to 60, and then I will stand up and walk to the door and open it and check the stars and the snow and decide what to do. We are not at that moment yet. The light is on. The fan is loud. The VU meter is steady. I am here. I can hear the click of a relay and the shift of the generator load. The light flickers and stabilizes. I smell diesel faintly. That is normal. The filters are working. I am speaking these sentences for anyone who needs to know the room is not magic. It is a box with air and noise and a man. Mia, I'm going to teach you a trick. If your radio has a button with a little light on it, turn it off. Save the battery. If you have a phone and it still has power, turn on airplane mode, and then turn on Wi-Fi and see if a home router is still awake. If it is not, do not worry. Plug the phone in if you can. If you cannot, put it away. The radio is your friend tonight. If a neighbor knocks and says they heard you on the radio and wants to help, ask them to bring water. Do not argue about politics. This sentence is for the entire planet. Do not argue about politics tonight. There will be time for that when the lights are bright and the microphones are on tripods again. I am going to stop listing catastrophes for 5 minutes and list things I like. I like the smell of bread at 6 in the morning on Rue de Bourg in Lausanne. I like the sound of the old tram in Geneva when it turns at Bel Air and the wheels sing because the track curve is tight. I like the way my daughter says the full name of a dinosaur with fierce concentration, syllable by syllable, like she is casting a spell. I like the crack of skates on lake ice in January when it is really cold. These are facts. They are not metaphors. They are reasons. If you are making your own list at home, say it out loud. Your voice will feel better after. Time check. It is now just after midnight, Central European time. That is 00 something hours in soldier talk. I said I would not use numbers as digits. I am keeping that. The room is the same. The world outside is the same. The traffic on the band rises and falls. We are going to keep going. We do not have a choice, and that is the best kind of duty. It is simple. Do the next thing. Mia again. The siren stopped, she says. The street is quiet. Good, that is good. If you can find a pillow, sit on the floor, lean against the bed, and put the pillow on your lap. Put the radio on the pillow. It will make the sound down a little and your hands will not shake so much. If there is a pet, tell it it is a good animal. If there is no pet, pretend there is one and tell it that anyway. You can lie to a pretend pet. It does not file a complaint. That is the joke. I am making jokes at 1 in the morning because kids listen better if you make them breathe between sentences. Tokyo's new operator reads a list of neighborhoods with power. Delhi whispers a prayer without naming it as a prayer. Johannesburg says the hallway is full and quiet, and there is coffee. Nairobi says someone started singing softly and no one told them to stop. Madrid says the staircase is cold but the view is beautiful. Milan says the alarms are finally quiet. Boston's Daniel says the students are asleep on coats, and the transmitter is warm and friendly. His words, and he will change the fan tomorrow. Tel Aviv says the dialysis rotation is holding. Busan says the sea is making its regular noise. Brittany sends a second picture of Jules the dog, this time awake and looking confused, and the caption says he knows. I think he does. We are still here. I'm going to keep saying that until it is boring, and then some more. The story some people will tell tomorrow is that everything failed. The story I'm hearing is that people stepped into rooms with dead screens and said their names and did their jobs and spoke to each other with quiet voices and kept the night from breaking. That is all. That is enough. This is United Nations Relay Station Echo 17. Bravo, signing this hour and keeping the carrier warm. If you are awake, breathe and sleep in turns. If you are alone, write a name and put a box next to it and tick it in the morning. If you are scared, count with me again in your head. If you are in charge, speak calmly and stand where people can see you. If you are a child, good night. If you are my daughter Camille, I am here. If you are Nora, I love you. If you are anyone on Earth with a radio, you are not alone.